Your latest project is Ex Machina. What drew you to the role?
Alex Garland, first of all. It's funny because when I first, the very first script I read when I was leaving school, after I had graduated from drama school, was Sunshine, which was a script that he had written, and I became totally obsessed with it. It was my first audition. I didn't get the part. But anyway, it stayed in my head. It still was one of the best things I'd ever written. And so now, years later, when I got the call that Alex wanted to meet me for his next film, that he was actually directing this time, and I read the script, and it just blew me away. The character that he wanted me to play, potentially, was something I had never done, very dynamic, dark, but very funny as well, and quite extroverted in some ways.
You have described your character Nathan as an ingenious, dark, drunk, disco-dancing, megalomaniacal beast. So basically everyone's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, I just play myself, basically. No.
Do you feel that way at all? Like you're playing yourself?
Like those things?
Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, I am playing myself because I only have myself to play with. But you know, it's just, you know, you're just using what you've got in your own experience. But part of it is how you connect the dots to a life that, you know, this guy lived very different circumstances than I've lived. So part of that is looking for inspiration in strange places. And so, like, I look for I have a very good friend from Miami as well, who's an astrophysicist and also drinks a lot, to kind of quiet his mind, because his mind is racing so much. And then also I thought of someone like Bobby Fischer, who's someone that was so brilliant from the Bronx and self-taught, yet very dark and misanthropic and angry in his own life. And so, yeah, you look for inspiration from different places.
This film's a complete sci-fi mind game. Have you ever thought about a world in which you had artificial intelligence?
Where I had artificial intelligence?
No, where the world had artificial intelligence.
Okay.
I think you've got enough intelligence on your own.
Some robot pieces in my brain. Although the optimists do feel, like Ray Kurzweil, who's a futurist and an optimist, you know, there's so many people that are like, beware, and very smart people that are like, beware the AI. And he believes that we will actually become more machine in order to compete, like downloading our brains or nanotechnology or things like that. For me, I tend to go the opposite way. I feel like we have a history of not being able to control the things that we create, whether it be industry or socioeconomic systems or political systems. We tend to kind of enslave ourselves to these things. So
you're really spoiling me for every actor interview I do from here on out, just so you know.
Okay.
Like we're talking about futurism? What?
Oh yeah. Let's get into gender politics.
Yeah. Well, speaking of gender politics, your facial hair
Yeah.
is really big
Good
on the
segue.
internet.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know that?
That my facial hair is big on
It's
the
a
internet?
big topic of conversation on the internet. In fact, E.T. says you're often hiding behind a mustache or a beard. You're on a list called 7 Latino celebs with out-of-control facial hair.
Wow.
Can you believe that people are that interested in your appearance?
Is it out of control and hiding at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, lots of
Interesting.
contradictions.
Yeah, I know. Man of contradictions. At least my beard is.
It's
I
a
don't-
weird part of your profession.
Facial hair.
No, the fact that like people are tracking how you look.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because, you know, you're playing all sorts of different characters, and I happen to be a very virile man.
You know, when you talk about how you sort of can't divorce yourself from the characters, some of what I find interesting about the roles that you've taken is that you've not been dominated by Latino characters. Is that a conscious choice, or is it just the way that things have panned out?
It's a little bit of both, but to a certain extent, I've gotten a lot of stereotypical Latin roles, whether they be like gangsters or thugs or these villains or this and that, and, you know, I've purposefully made a choice of saying, even when it's a cool project or a great director or a part that would, you know, give me some sort of whatever notoriety, to gone away from those kinds of things. One, because for me, it's just as an actor, it's not interesting. But two, I don't want to kind of perpetuate that stereotype. And so, for me, you know, it has to be an interesting, idiosyncratic, unusual character for me to want to do it. And their ethnicity is kind of secondary.
I have to ask about Star Wars. Are you psyched?
Yeah.
Is it true that Return of the Jedi is the first film you ever saw in a theater?
It is the one that it was it was Return of the Jedi that I remember seeing in the theater. That's
Don't
the first.
make me know your life better than you do.
It is the first thing that I remember seeing in the theater.
If you don't play a Jedi in the upcoming Star Wars movie, is it safe to assume that you are bitter about the casting choice?
No, because there's a myriad of amazing characters in the Star Wars universe that don't happen to wield a lightsaber. I'm not saying one or the other, but...
Would you do me one last favor? Would you just come whisper in my ear so we can have rumors of a spoiler alert?
Okay.